All right. What is going on, everybody? Hope you all had a good weekend. Hope you are well. Yes, resident, it is time. Hello, Space Junk. Hello, Mary. Woo, to morning live stream. Streaming in the morning today. Absolutely. Good to see you, Scorpion. Good to see you, Danny, in the Discord. Let me know if you guys can hear me. I know we've had some issues in the Discord not being able to hear, so give me a thumbs up in the Discord if you guys can hear me. That would be excellent. CJ, what's up? XAV, what's up? I am excited for Doom Part 2. That is definitely going to be interesting. I'm probably most excited for Doom Part 2 out of anything currently coming out right now, so should be fun. Hello, Migsy. You can't hear? Okay, hold on, let me check, 1, 2. Are we live in the Discord? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me, gentlemen. Resident, I'm not trying to be rude or tell you what to do, but last time that music was pretty distracting for me personally. Okay, I will put it right near the bottom. Right there. Space Junk says, I'm working on my pilot currently in pre-production, all self-produced. Just wanted to say thank you for the help over the years. Fantastic, Space Junk. Very happy to hear that. I'm very excited to see it when it's done. Definitely bring it to stream. If you finish it and bring it to stream, let me know and we can watch it on stream. It'll be super fun. If you are speaking, I can't hear. For sure. That is par for the course. Leave the stage. Check, 1, 2. Scorpion, can you hear me? Enhanced, not enhanced. I really appreciate you trying to keep us enhanced. Though it's just a me thing. Enhanced, not enhanced. Your autocorrect's killing you today, resident. Alright, let's see. Is my mic on the right mic? Let's see, input device. Yeah, should be the right mic. You guys let me know if you can hear me. Mariella, hi Tyler, how are you? I have a question for you. Shoot, what's your question? Still having trouble in Discord. That is unfortunate. That is unfortunate indeed. Disconnect quietly. Just disconnect quietly. Okay. Now let's join. Hello. Let me know if you can hear me now. Oh, perfect. Excellent. Shikar says, love the Story Circle email on the Life of Death short story. I'm glad you liked it. I may actually go over that email today because I think it could be good for the stream for us to discuss the Life of Death short script or short story and see the Story Circle inside of it because it's a 5-minute short. If you are not getting my emails and you want to read, I send out weekday emails. And you can also read them all in the Discord. So if you join the Discord below, I have them all in the announcements tab there. And today I looked at a short film and analyzed it according to the Story Circle. Deuce, can you share your daily routine? My daily routine goes something like get up, work on the various million things I have going on in my life in the background that you guys don't know about, and then work on YouTube and my course. The course is the big kind of deep work thing that I'm working on right now. And then if it's a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, I do my writing group meetings, which is the writer tribe, where we develop story in that meeting, in that group. And that is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I don't have a super set schedule. I usually handle one-on-one coaching clients and that sort of thing throughout the week. And then I also, right now, doing a lot of work on my course. And I also have a video for the channel, and a video essay actually coming out here pretty soon. So keep an eye out for that. Hopefully it should be dropping tomorrow. Yeah. All right, I see I need help is asking a question. I'll bring you in. What's up, man? How are you?
Hello, can you hear me?
I sure can. What's your question today?
Okay, cool. So I need to okay. I have a lot. I don't have a script right now. I want to talk to you about, but these are more of writers' questions on how to become a full-time screenwriter and all that stuff.
Okay.
Okay. Every time I see a professional screenwriter talk about, and they say they make their best stuff when it's personal because they have a lot of life experience. I was wondering if there was a way for that you could tell me how to gain the most life experience in order to write more personal stories. Like how Stephen King, I'm pretty sure he was never attacked by clowns and all that stuff, but all his stories he says are pretty personal to him.
Mm-hmm. So I think if you are seeking stories, right, you are seeking a more adventurous life, you cannot wait for problems to come up for you to go after things. So there's kind of two ways that a story happens, and in the same way, it's how it happens to you in real life, right? Where if you look at a story circle, let me show my screen to you in the Discord. So if you look at a story circle, people talk a lot about the 2 and the 3, where the 2 is the want, and then the 3 is the inciting incident. And people ask me all the time, like, does my character have to want something before the inciting incident, or can they be whole and then the inciting incident comes and then we go forward? So a lot of times people wait until a problem happens for them to act or for them to make their life interesting. And then after a problem happens, now the problem creates a want because they want to solve the problem, and then they are forced into their real life adventure. However, the other way you can start, and the way that I recommend living, is doing this. Having something that you want first, and then getting into problems because of it. So if you feel like you don't have life experience, that's totally fine. But I would suggest that you go on some sort of adventure, whether that's leaving where you're at, whether that's something that you want to build, something you want to create. You have to want a goal if you are going to really get into problems. If you wait for problems to come to you, that can work, but then you're not in control of how you are actually getting that life experience that you're talking about. And so I think part of the reason that older people usually can naturally write better, they have more of a organic knack to writing is because they have both wanted things that they have gone after in life and encountered problems that they did not foresee coming more times. So if you feel like you don't have anything to write about, you need to break out of your current box. And what is your current box? Your current box is the routine that you have set up, that you do every single day, that you likely have done for years in the past. You need to get out of that box so that you can learn things, grow as a person, and have experiences that grow you. And I think right now, more than any other time in history, more people have been doing what we are all doing right now, which is sitting in a room, on a computer, in a safe, comfy place. And that's fun to a certain extent, but at some point you have to get outside, at some point you got to get messy, at some point you have to want something, and because of that, your life will be different. The reason that I am doing the things that I'm doing is because I wanted things and still do want them. So I want to be the greatest filmmaker of all time. And I guess more specifically, I want to be the greatest filmmaker of the internet generation. And because of that, it has required me to go after things and to do things and to learn and to grow and to build and to get into problems and to have unexpected things show up in my life and cause me all sorts of drama and chaos. And through that drama and chaos, it has forced me to learn. And through that drama and chaos, I have gotten a better and better sense of what I want to write about. So that would be my advice to you.
Wow, thank you.
For sure.
That was a yeah. Another problem I tend to have is the research process because I try to make my screenplay as realistic as possible. But how do you go about it? How long do you normally spend time researching, and what's the best way to do it? Do I go to a library, look up online? Do I do interviews? What do you recommend?
Are you trying to tell a story about a real life event?
Uh, no, well, kind of. It's more of a okay. So, it's kind of like a criminal conspiracy, and and the and the main setting is in the police department where I live.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to make sure that it sounds as realistic or it's as realistic as possible. So I try to get all those little details right.
It's about the police department where you live.
Again, it's not based on a true story. It's something I came up, but just, want to make it sound realistic.
If it's based on the police department where you live, you should go there and you should say, hey, can I ride along? Can I spend a night in jail maybe? Can I be involved? So you're not going to get a real sense of characters by doing nonfiction research in a library. I think if you want to make a story about cops, you should hang out with cops. If you want to tell a story about the procedure of sending someone to jail and how they go to court and all of these things, you should go and do that. So I think rather than researching, like, of course there can be research that can be done in a library or online, but what is going to really separate you from everyone else with internet access is that you can literally stand in the room with the police officers and pay attention, be aware. Who are these people, right? What are their personalities? What are their differences? How do they create this little society within the police department? Who's who? Who's a hothead? Who's more mild-mannered? How do these personalities bounce off of each other? I think a lot of story is less about facts and information and much more about the energy that people bounce off of each other and how different personalities mesh and how different personalities come together to make important decisions.
Oh, I never thought about it. Something else I want to do is I want to approach really improve at this craft, and I really want to take this seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So every day I want to know I put in the hours, but I feel kind of lost because I don't know exactly what routine do I do. Can you recommend me like a writing schedule or that would really help me stay would put me ahead of any other writers?
Sure. So, back to the whiteboard here. The way that I like to develop stories and the way that I work with writers is you have like initial idea phase, right, where you're just kind of gathering basic ideas. This would be where if I were you, I would visit your local police department if that's what you want to write about. I would ask questions, be aware, do that. I mean, I would visit them, see however many times you can visit them quickly, right? Like, you could make it so that the people at your local police department totally know who you are very aware that you're writing a story that's related to them. Like, you could really be known in this place to develop that idea, right? This is kind of just basic research and this sort of stuff. But idea phase, when you're throwing down ideas, that is not super structured to me. My ideas will come how they come. But eventually I'm going to get into the outlining phase. When I am outlining, this is where I'm going to use my story framework to outline. And so you can find my story framework in the practical screenwriting course, and I've shared it a couple times on stream as well. But essentially, I will be not in the draft for a large majority of my time writing. So I'm a big believer in outlining. I'm a big believer in being able to see the story from a wide perspective. If you want to write scenes in this phase because they're helpful to you and it gets you a sense of what the story is going to be, you can totally write scenes here. But I'm a big believer in getting into the outlining phase, and I will outline all the way to a scene to scene outline. And if you're asking how much time should I spend on this a day, that really depends on you. But ideally, look, we have so many distractions now. There's no way right now, just in a moment, that you're spending 7 hours a day on this or something like this. But if you can really commit an actual hour a day, that will be a ton of time. It will accumulate with the consistency. The goal will not be how I need to do 12 hours of work in a day. The goal needs to be how can I string along so many days consistently where I put in an hour on my story every single day. And then once you get to a scene to scene outline, and then you're ready for the draft phase, I am a big believer in writing at least 3 pages a day. It's a doable amount of pages, and if you write 3 pages a day and maybe a little more, you can write a full screenplay in a month. So that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, thanks. I saw the Prestige the other day,
Mm-hmm.
and I was wondering how do you write really not only nonlinear stories, but really complex characters. And I'm not just talking about philosophical beliefs. I'm talking about you know contradictions, all that stuff. And how do you know your character inside out? So whenever you're writing a scene, you know exactly what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. So, first and foremost, you need to stop thinking about these characters as complex. You need to think about, how do I make this story simple enough so that I can actually hold the entire thing in my head and understand that when I write it out on the page, I know exactly why the story is unfolding in the way that it is and how all the characters in my web are doing so. If you have 8 characters that you think are wildly complex, this is just going to be confusing to you. You need to be able to distill the characters down into their very basic desires and beliefs so that they are useful to you. I think one of the most unhelpful elements of screenwriting that I have encountered is that people talk constantly about the complexity level of characters, when in reality characters are actually not that complex, and 2, it is not helpful to you to think of them as complex. In The Prestige, the characters are not really that complex, right? Both of them want to be the greatest magician ever, is essentially how it works. They both want to be super great magicians. They both have relationship issues. And then we have some high concept elements about how they actually achieve these wild magic tricks. But the characters themselves are not actually that complex. They want to beat each other. They want to win. But they are just humans. They're no more complex. Like, are humans complex? Sure. Yes. But it is not helpful to you to think of story as complexity. Great stories are simple. Great stories are clear. The Prestige is a simple and clear story. It looks complex because Christopher Nolan likes to edit and present his films in a way that makes them feel like they are these... and they are very well and deeply crafted stories. But you have to simplify. You cannot make something that is... Genius is in simplicity. Genius is not in complexity. If you cannot explain the message of the story that you're trying to get across in simple terms, then you don't understand it. If you can't explain your plot in simple terms, then you do not understand it. So that's what I would say. What I think you should do instead is go back to The Prestige and get a very clear sense of what these people want and what they're actually going after. And if you actually look at it, it's not that complicated. Hugh Jackman's character, he wants to be greatest magician ever, deal with I believe he has a lover in the story. And then Christian Bale's character, same thing, right? It's, there's a big mystery surrounding him that we get a reveal about how he actually does his tricks. But it's not that complex. And especially... So also, when writers say that a character is complex, what they're usually saying is that internally, mentally, this character is so complex. But that is, again, not the way to think about your screenplay, because we are trying to express a story through a visual medium, which means that the ideas being presented in the story need to be understandable visually, right? We cannot express these long monologues about all the thoughts and the feelings of the characters. We may give some dialogue at times, but fundamentally, the audience needs to understand what's going on just by what they are seeing. Therefore, it requires simplicity. And you also must realize that when you are creating a story, you are creating that story for people that have no story context, in the sense of they're not screenwriters, they're not storytellers, they don't understand character, they don't understand these things. They are just an audience member. Right? And if you cannot get an audience member to understand what's happening in your story, then you don't know that story. So I think a lot of people in art house type of circles like to, sit there with their wine glasses and talk about character complexity, and none of them are writers and none of them know what they're talking about. Simplicity is king. If you cannot explain the plot of your story to a 5-year-old, then you don't understand the plot. They may not understand the depth of the emotionality that that character may go through in their journey, but you need to be able to create a story that is clear enough where anyone can understand.
I think you're right. This, the characters were, simple, but I think what really gives all of Christopher Nolan movies and layers is that he normally does non-linear stories, and so that way when you're done with the movie, when you look at the movie again, you see all these details that you didn't catch, that didn't make sense the first time you watched them, but they do the second time. And every time I try to write something non-linear, I always get stuck, and I always I really don't know how to tell that way that makes it as simple as I can to whoever reads my script.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Non-linear
try.
is a
Mhm.
buzzword that is used to describe editing practices that people do not understand. I don't think The Prestige is a non-linear story. The Prestige is a very linear story. Inception is a linear story. The Dark Knight is a linear story. Christopher Nolan makes linear movies. Memento might be the only real, and even Memento is linear, it's just linear in reverse. So I think this buzzword non-linear, I hear it over and over again from writers. It's the same thing as people talking about quote unquote complex characters, right? These are buzzwords that are used when people don't really know what's going on in the story. Like, if you look at Prestige, it starts at the beginning and ends at the end, right? It's a linear story. We might jump back and forth between character perspectives, but that happens in all sorts of stories. Most stories, the large majority of functional stories are lines. They are linear. We might jump to some backstory here and there. We might shift character perspective, but they are linear stories. So I say this because I want to shift your mindset on this. I don't want you to think about, go back and watch Prestige and see how linear it really is. Don't okay. Here's what has really happened, and this is kind of me getting on my soapbox a bit. I think that Hollywood has really run the narrative on screenwriting for a very long time. And of course, that makes sense because they are the biggest producers of film or have been in the past. And because of that, what they say about story means a lot to those who want to write them. Now, at the same time, Hollywood also functions as its little club in the sense that, like, the Writers Guild of America, for example, it's a union, it's also a club, right? Either you're in the guild or you're not in the guild, right? Same with SAG, right? The Screen Actors Guild. Either you're in the club or you're not in the club. And so what happens is a lot of the times they use these sorts of language, like non-linear, complex characters. Also, a lot of critics, right? LA and Hollywood critics like to use this kind of flowery language to describe stories that they don't really understand. And then it becomes confusing to us writers that are trying to understand how this is all working and actually be clear on the function of the story. But then we are outside the club. We're only seeing things from the outside, and then therefore it's easy to get confused. And so I don't say this to be like, oh, you're dumb for using that term or anything like that. All I'm saying is get away from terms like these and realize that nonlinear is a buzzword created by the industry. Complex characters, same thing. These are buzzwords that are created by critics and are thrown around by interviewers in podcasts that are not actually helpful to the writer in front of the blank page. And that is why my website is Practical Screenwriting, because my goal is to be practical, to actually understand what's going on, to make it simple, to make it clear, to make it linear, because this is how you understand, this is how you perceive the world.
Oh, that's a great point. Hang on, let me write that down.
Sure.
Okay. Uh, a few weeks ago, I wrote a couple of pilots. I'm about to, later in the day, I'm gonna go and reread them.
Cool.
Could you? I want to be as brutally honest with my writing as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if you have a little trick to analyze the scripts you read. Do you make little notes as you read along? Do you read the whole thing and then write everything you hate about them and how to fix it? What do you do?
Good
You have
question.
a little checklist?
Yeah, so essentially what I'm doing, let me pull up my story framework here real quick. So I have my story framework, and I kind of use this as my rubric to both build a story and also to analyze a story that's not working. So, and I'm going to make this publicly available to you guys. I'm actually doing some final touches on this version. I'm doing a big refresh of my story framework as I'm doing this refresh of my course material. And so this will be available to you all very soon. But essentially, in this, I'm looking at the philosophical conflict, which sets up the philosophical stakes. I'm looking at the concept. I'm looking at how the characters are working. I'm looking at if we actually have four-corner opposition. Do we actually have a character web that is representative of the different perspectives that are in the story? I'm looking to see if we actually have set pieces inside of the story, right, which are interesting locations that the story actually takes place in. Are those locations connected to the concept? And I'm looking at the structure, and then I'm looking at scenes, scene choices, and I'm looking at setups and payoffs. And so when I am actually reading a script and analyzing it, what I'll usually be doing at this point I don't have to really check my documents because I've just done this so many times, but I will just kind of make page notes as I'm going forward. And so those page notes can be about any element, right? So I might read the script, get to page 5 and see, okay, this scene does not have a clear choice. I'll make a note of that. Or I'll go forward and maybe on page 15 I have a note about the character web, right, which is a different part of the story, a more important part. But at first, if I'm just doing a read through, I'm just making notes based on the page numbers. Once I have notes based on the particular page numbers, and those will be concept notes, structure notes, philosophical notes, character web notes, these different things, then I can organize those notes into the essentially the hierarchy of story, in the sense of there is a certain fixes, certain problems are more important than others. For example, a couple lines of dialogue not quite working is way less important than having an underdeveloped character web, for example, right? And that should be pretty obvious. Or having a problem in a structural beat in Act 2 is going to be less important than the fundamental theme of the story and what worldviews are in conflict. So once I go through the script, I will then write those notes based on the page numbers, and then I will organize those notes based on their level of importance for fixes.
Thanks, man. Oh, when did you say you were gonna make that, public?
Hopefully end of March, maybe sooner.
All right, cool.
Yeah, that's the current game plan.
Sounds great. So, it's kind of obvious that, I still have a lot of work to do before I write something that I'm, really, really proud of. But when the day comes when I finally written something that I think it's worthwhile, what's the best way to get it out there, get it noticed, all that stuff?
So that's a good question. There's a best way to get a project that you're proud of noticed. First, you need to decide, like, I'm kind of outside of the traditional Hollywood way of doing things, right? So I don't see things as totally through their lens. If you are trying to sell to Hollywood, it all comes down to connections. Everything is network. It like obviously having a quality screenplay is going to be very helpful to you if you want to sell something. However, if you do not have a network, if you do not have any connections whatsoever, you're not going to sell that project. And so the writers that I have worked with that have sold projects to the traditional industry, all of those writers are in Los Angeles. Now, you don't necessarily. So, that being said, maybe you come to Los Angeles or something like that, but really it comes down to connections. I do know one writer that he and I didn't work directly together, but he lives in Louisiana and he's a guild member. He's a WGA writer. So you don't necessarily have to be in Los Angeles, but he has connections, right? He has people he knows. He has an agent. He has a manager. He has a network. And so the question really becomes, who are the people that can help you, and how can you be of help to those people so that you can move a project forward? That's the kind of the traditional way to do it. And then I'm also a big believer in finding ways to do things independently, right? So if you break it down to first principles in the sense of, okay, what are really the building blocks of making a movie? Well, you need a screenplay. You need a crew to produce the movie. You need a cast, and you need a budget, and then you need to figure out distribution. So you have kind of these 5 big pieces that you need. You can find those pieces outside of the traditional industry, and it is going to be a ton of work. But maybe that's your adventure.
Uh, oh, Tyler, you were a great help today. Thank you so much.
Thanks for hopping on.
And one final question. When's the next day that your practical screenwriter course gets the discount?
I don't know.
Okay. Thanks anyway, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for hopping on.
Okay.
I see. Let's see here. Is it Zilchin? Zilch on both fronts, I think is the next to speak. Hey, how's it going?
Yep, that's me. Hi. Cool. Hi, Tyler.
What's your
I've been
question?
watching your videos for a while, but yeah. So I am extremely new to screenwriting and filmmaking in general,
Okay.
and I'm having a lot of fun with it. And I'm writing this short film script. Now, it's been a while since I've seen the videos that you've made on short films, so maybe this is a question that you've already addressed in one of those. I will go back to check those out. But it's my first time writing a short film, and I am especially interested in trying to make it myself with the group of friends that I've found.
Okay.
It's all in one location, small set of characters. And the issue that I'm having is that it now feels like all the story beats are essentially dialogue. Um, and except for a couple of small scenes like a bathroom break and a smoking break. It's supposed to happen over the course of a house party.
Okay.
It's technically multiple scenes, but I'm having trouble thinking of them as multiple scenes because it's all set in one location with the same characters, and all the story beats seem to be happening as dialogue. Do you have any advice on breaking it up into scenes and thinking of them as different scenes? Essentially, what I'm trying to get at maybe also is that I'm having trouble balancing this story that's simple, which is something that you went into um, just a few minutes ago, and a story where nothing really happens, especially because it's a short film that is probably going to be under 10 minutes. I don't know how to balance the simplicity with this fear that nothing's happening, nothing interesting enough is happening.
Sure. Okay. I can definitely help you. So there's a couple of different elements to how I might help you. First off, you need to understand what actually makes a scene a scene. Is a scene a location? Is a scene just an event that happens in a location? Like, what is actually going on in a scene? And in my current latest YouTube video, I explain that what a scene is fundamentally is a moment of choice, right? So the fundamental movement of drama is going to be a debate about a choice where you have sort of side A versus side B, and now there's this question of what decision is going to be made between these two people. And usually this decision is started with some sort of problem, right? And so we kind of have a problem to open things up. Now the question is, what choice is going to be made to solve this problem? This is the base function of how a scene works. Now, to discuss shorts and how to create a short, if you actually go to the announcements tab in the Discord, today I put up a post, and I also sent it out as an email, where I broke down a short film and showed kind of how it functions and how there are very clear story beats happening, even though it is 5 minutes long. And I mean, we can kind of walk through this here, but essentially in this short, let me open this short up. We can probably just watch this now and have a discussion about it, because I think it will be helpful. This is about 5 minutes long. I don't think I'm going to get copyright struck by showing this YouTube short. Hopefully. YouTube does like to strike me. But let's watch this short. Hopefully you guys can hear this through the Discord, and then Zilch, we can continue discussing your short, because we can probably get it fully fixed today.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. Very sad, right? So, how this works, like there are very clear, defined beats in the film that we just watched. And they are easily identifiable. Essentially what happens in this story is it follows a story circle very perfectly. Where we have a character, Death, and then Death, we see what Death does, right? So his want, Death's want, is that he wants to fulfill his purpose in the beginning by laying animals to rest, right? This is what he does, right? So we get a setup of what he does. Then our inciting incident, our problem, is that Death encounters a deer at exactly a minute in. Kind of here, right? Boom. So now this is our 3. He encounters the deer, and now he makes a choice. Remember how I was talking about scenes are about choices? We've shown what he normally does in the 2. What Death usually does his day-to-day is that he lays the animals to rest, and now we're watching him make the opposite choice at this 4, right? We are showing a change in his character right here. So he decides not to pass the deer on and instead to be the deer's friend, right? And so kind of about right here, right here, 2 minutes in, he chooses to befriend the deer instead of killing it, right? Now we enter the 5. Now notice here that the 5 is actually the opposite of the 2 in this case, because this is a flat arc. So Death, the character, is a flat arc here, rather than getting what he wanted in the 5. If he had a change arc, he would get what he wanted in the 5. If the change arc version of this story would be Death kills the deer at the 4, and then essentially gets what he wanted at the 5, right? He's doing his job, but then surprise problem would be Death is super lonely, has no friends, all he wants is someone else, and he would realize in that moment that what he's normally doing isn't what he should do, and then he changes and gets a friend. However, this is a flat arc story, and so because of that, the first choice is to befriend the deer. Now he has the friend, and a lot of the middle of the short, right in the middle, because it's our midpoint, is Death and the deer hanging out, having a blast, living life, all this good stuff, right? This is all the 5. Multiple scenes for the 5 here. They're hanging out, they're having fun, life is good. Then our 6, our surprise problem, is right here at the 3, or at 3:18. Deer gets older, and her time comes, and then we have the climactic choice. Death chooses to lay her to rest. Now notice the argument, there's no dialogue, and yet there is an argument here, right? Dialogue is a debate about a choice. Scenes are debates about a choice. So when you watch this character here, watch them debate, right? They are in a debate. They are in a side A versus side B debate. And Death has the power to make the decision here. See? No, I don't want to do this. Yes, you should. It's my time. And it's very clear to the audience what's going on here, right? We have a full understanding of what the deer is asking for with no dialogue here. This is a debate. And ultimately, lays her to rest, and then Death goes back to his normal life in the end, and our dear friend passes on. So now, with that in mind, Zilch, let's discuss your party short, and let's see if we can give you some scene choices as well as build out a sense of what your story circle is going to look like.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So walk me through what you've got now. Just walk me through the beats here so I can get something on the page.
All right. This is an Indian who's living in Germany, and he's just decided to give up his Indian citizenship and take up German citizenship.
Okay.
And he's realizing that legally he is now German,
Okay.
but he wants to be also accepted in quotes into German society as a quote unquote German.
Okay. So his want is to be culturally German, or he wants to be accepted by German culture.
Yeah,
Okay.
accepted by other Germans, let's say, as a German.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Totally does. And is there a character or characters that represent the Germans whom he is seeking acceptance from?
Yeah. So the house party that he's going to is a set of friends. It's one particular German friend's house party.
Okay.
And there are a couple of Germans that represent that, I guess. Yeah.
What are their names, just so I have something here?
Right now they're placeholders, but Lena is one. That's the person who's hosting the house party.
Okay.
And there's also Max.
Great. Okay. So he's going to this house party in the beginning, correct? Or he's already there?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Well, it starts with him entering the house party. Yeah.
Perfect. Now, is there a inciting incident or problem that arises at this party?
Yes. There is an unexpected guest who is also Indian,
Okay.
who's just come to Germany.
Okay. I like it.
And I guess the issue is that the protagonist, his name's Rahul. He wants to. He's just got his German passport, so he's hoping that this house party is almost like some kind of acceptance party or a baptism of sorts.
Totally.
And now that there's another Indian there, who is philosophically kind of the opposite, he feels like this other Indian is stealing his thunder.
Okay. So what does he do about it?
I mean, I have a couple of thoughts that I'm going through, but he's the main character has lived in Germany for 7 years now, and he's done a few things to try to be more integrated into society, learn the language, get interested in the local politics and news and all of that. And that's his usual go-to. And that's what he tries to do, which is bring up pop culture that he actually isn't very interested in, but thinks is interesting to the other Germans, and makes for good conversation with them. He tries that. But the other Indian, let's call him Jay, he, uh, um, I guess, finds a way to divert attention from the topics that Rahul brings up, and ends up making it about himself, thereby taking away the opportunity for the main character to talk about the things that he wants to talk about. One of them being the fact that he just got citizenship.
Okay. So to me, it seems like he wants to maybe embarrass Jay or get him to leave the party in some way.
Yes, yeah, I think it's about him trying to now that there is another Indian, the first instinct is for him to be annoyed, but I think he changes strategy. Maybe this is a different story beat, but he changes strategy and tries to show the contrast between the Indian who's just moved to Germany and himself, trying to show that he is better than the other Indian.
So he needs to put Jay down in some way.
Yeah.
Or embarrass him, essentially. Try to embarrass him in some way.
Yeah.
So to me, based on what you have so far, I think, so this is our 1, right? This is our 2. I'm building your circle here. This is our 3. This is our 4. So to me, I think your 5 is going to be some version of either Jay is embarrassed. I can't remember if it's 2 R's or 1, whatever. Jay is embarrassed or
I
like
think that's right. Yeah.
leaves the party in some way. And
Mm-hmm,
then
mm-hmm.
to me, I think the 6, which is our surprise problem. Now
Right.
this is really where you're starting to get into what thematically you are discussing in the story, right? Because this surprise problem
Mm-hmm.
is going to be the point where like you're really going to show the error in Rahul, is that is that what you said his name?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
The error in his way. So there's a couple ways this could go. As I'm thinking about this, one way could be this guy leaves, but then the problem is the other Germans do not accept him. Or maybe there is a German character that also starts making fun of Rahul the second that Jay leaves. And maybe you could have this situation where Rahul is realizing that like he's not getting that full acceptance and he is not helping himself by trying to embarrass or push someone of his people away, and so then maybe your 7 would be that Raul goes after Jay or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or maybe brings him back to the party, maybe defends him, something like that. If you wanted it, because and then thematically, the story is saying that, essentially that it is not helpful to you to put your own people down just because you want acceptance from others or something like this. If that's the story you're trying to tell.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think thematically, I think it's slightly different in my case. I think it's the conflict is essentially him trying to balance changing himself in order to be integrated into a new society versus being himself and following his own interests and the way that he wants to live. So in this sense, I was actually in number 5. I was thinking that I think you're right. So 6 would be Jay is embarrassed, maybe doesn't leave, but Rahul, the way that Rahul treats Jay, causes the other people at the party to feel like maybe the way that Rahul treats Jay alienates Rahul because he was a bit of an asshole.
Totally. Yeah, I like that. So then what is our climactic choice? And that would be, how is Rahul getting out of this sticky situation that he has created for himself?
Yeah. This is the part where I mean, I don't even have a first draft yet, so I haven't got this far, and I don't know how it resolves itself. And I do have to think about that.
Well,
but this is already helpful to see that the first 6 story beats work, kind of.
Well, to me, we kind of have, it's going to be, so we've also got these other characters, like Lena and Max, that you mentioned. They maybe, so it alienates, the way Rahul treats Jay alienates Rahul from Lena and Max. And then I think that your 7 I think it needs to be some sort of, okay, essentially, if we're thinking about this symbolically, okay, Jay is now the symbol of Indian culture, right? Or the symbol of the old world that Rahul is from. And then we have Lena and Max as a symbol of the new world, symbol of the culture that he's trying to integrate into. So to me, you want to in some way reintegrate Jay back in a way where, and ideally in a way where maybe through Rahul, Jay is also gaining that acceptance that Rahul is looking for, and by getting that acceptance for Jay, Rahul is also earning it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense.
So in some way, the simple
Oh, I
version would
see.
be...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I just reconsidered your idea of Jay leaving the party, because I was thinking about symbolically this house party, the flat in which this is happening, is symbolically Germany, in that Rahul goes to this party and there's
Totally.
another Indian there. And there's a smoke break that I was expecting to be the climax, where Rahul and Jay meet outside the party. To, I don't know, hash it out. I haven't thought about it yet, but so they would temporarily go out of the party and then come back in. But yeah, I see what you mean about even Jay being symbolically the old life for Indian culture.
Totally. I think that scene exists. That scene will kind of be like maybe kind of right here in between the 6 and the 7, or part of the lead up to this final choice, where I think if you have Jay leave, Rahul ends up going after him because he alienates himself. They go out, they have the smoke break, they kind of make up. Maybe they even connect on their heritage. And we get this moment where, without the pressure of the party and without the pressure to, look cool in front of everyone, in front of the friends, they reconnect. And then the climactic choice is this, that they both return back to the party united. And through that, they're able to come back in and rejoin the party in an uplifting sort of light way. And then now our change at the end is now everyone is enjoying the party. And through this, you are essentially using this story to be like, it's symbolic, right? The flat is Germany. Jay is India. Lena and Max are Germany. And so you are using these people as symbols of this idea that you were talking about, not only for this one character, but as a sense of what many people's experience can be. I really like this story. I think you have something very good here.
Thank you. Yeah, and put this way, I think this is exactly what I was going for. There's also this underlying thing about Rahul not having confronted his cognitive dissonance about national identity. He hasn't thought deeply enough about it. So this scene outside where Rahul and Jay talk about it is him confronting the fact that just because he has a German passport doesn't mean that it's not binary, that he doesn't switch from Indian to German, that there's a little bit of both going on, and he has to find a way to accept both of those things.
Well, that's really interesting. So this is where kind of scene objects can come into play, right? And so in my latest YouTube video that you can check on the channel, I discuss how objects in a scene can also be very strong symbols for the conflict at hand. And so you mentioned like having two passports, having like a German passport and a Indian passport. That is potentially one of the things that you could do, is like that he has these two passports. Those could potentially be interesting scene objects. Also, you're absolutely going to have some sort of scene object at this 5 where Jay gets embarrassed. Like this kind of point here in the party. This is you will probably need some sort of like either maybe a party game that would make this interesting, right? Something to actually enliven this, to make it feel like, it's not just characters standing around in a room. This is an actual party. And so that's kind of the way that you would want to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I did have this idea about them playing I actually don't know what the game is called. What is it called when they have like an index card on the forehead and you're supposed to guess which celebrity it is
Oh
by asking
yeah.
questions?
Um, what's that
I don't
called?
know what it's called. Yeah.
Like heads
That
up or
game.
something? Headbands?
Yes, I think there's an app called Heads Up, but
Yeah.
I don't know what the original game's called. Yeah, so it's that, right? And it's funny because you do tend to ask questions about nationality. Am
Yeah.
I Indian? Am I? Yeah, which is
Totally.
a funny way of, I thought, introducing it at the beginning. Um, but yeah, it makes sense to bring it up at 5 as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's really really good. And then yes, so then the way that he's putting Jay down is going to be through that game, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
through the use of
Mm-hmm.
this tool, heads up or otherwise. They also play at that in Inglorious Bastards in the bar scene.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that is true. That is also a scene about who someone really is. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it is. And that's also a scene
Mm-hmm.
about
Mm-hmm.
nationality, which is kind of interesting.
Yep. Yes. Huh. Oh, it's interesting that in that scene, I don't remember the names of the characters, but the way he holds up his fingers to order the drinks,
Mm-hmm.
that's almost a scene object.
Totally. Yeah, it's a
Mm.
yeah, yes. It is. It's a
Hmm.
point of turning in that scene, absolutely. Yes, his hands, the way that he holds his fingers up. Absolutely.
This is very cool. That does open up a lot of possibilities, and yeah, this is cool.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for hopping on today.
Yeah, I'm glad I did.
Excellent. All right. I believe it is Stevenson's turn. If uh, Noah and Hamill are done yapping in the live stream stage chat, let me see if I can find this request to speak. There we go. Yeah.
Hello?
What's going on, man? How are you?
Man, doing good. How's your weekend?
It was good. It was good. How about yours?
Uh, busy.
Yeah? What's your
Very
question
busy.
today?
Well, first, actually, one of my questions you kind of answered with one of previous callers. It revolved around complexity versus simpler stories,
Yes.
etc.
Yes.
It's one of my one of my questions I have now is, besides writing compelling characters, how can one add depth to a short and simple story and make it compelling? Captivating.
So, kind of coming back to this here, I think what really makes a story compelling and captivating is understanding the important choices that characters are making initially, and then having them make
Hmm.
opposite choices and be in this dilemma back and forth between what they must do. That to me is the most interesting element of story, and that is what all good stories are doing from my perspective. And so, in this example that I gave today in the email I sent out, was we see this character death. Like the whole story, this life of death short has no dialogue, right? So then what
Hmm.
makes it compelling? What makes it compelling is understanding the meaningful choices that are in front of the character. And so that's why I think a better way maybe to say philosophical conflict is just meaningful choices, right? Where in this story, we have a sense of who Death is and what he regularly does, and now he has to make an opposite choice. And then, because he makes this opposite choice to befriend the deer instead of sending her on, that choice then rears its head once again later on, right? This is also why you need All stories need at least two fundamental choices. Because if you do not have two fundamental choices, you do not have a character arc, flat or change arc. And so in this story, we have a sense of who Death is in the beginning, what he does regularly. We have him make the opposite choice at the 4 from what he normally does at the 2, because this is a flat arc.
Mm-hmm.
And then he is forced back to make that decision once again at the 6, right? And so what makes this compelling is understanding very clearly what is the dilemma at the center of the story, what is the meaningful choice that is sitting at the center of the story, and how are the characters making that choice. And then the final choices, like the final resolution, the final climactic choice of that story, that will resolve the conflict fully. So if you can really get a sense of how to make strong choices, that is what is going to make your story compelling.
Okay, gotcha. And in that particular short story, what would you say is the what would you think the moral of that short story is, and what would you say is the philosophical conflict in that story?
So the moral of the story, I think the philosophical conflict is in the title, right? It's kind of life and death in the sense of this character, just like we were talking about symbols in Zilch's story when he brought it just a moment ago. The deer is the symbol of life. And this character here, where is he? Where's my guy? This character, this is the symbol of death. And so the philosophical conflict is just the conflict between life and death. And then they are personified. And in this story, it is death wishing he could be with life. But then ultimately realizing death cannot be with life. They are separate, or they are two sides of the coin, two sides of the yin and yang. And therefore, at the end, he makes the choice to send the symbol of life on, because that is what he must do as death. Death cannot be life. Death must be death. So that would be the moral of the story, is that death cannot be life. Death must be death.
Excellent. By the way, I really appreciate that you not only decided to break down a short film live, but you chose an animated one. Because most of the short stories I watch are animated. Because that's something that I personally want to do one day with my stories.
Fantastic.
Which is why I'm so busy like creating characters right now to make stories for later. Um, Lastly, now this is up to you because I was going to like skip this because I I don't want to like waste like anyone's time or but I had another story breakdown exercise for you. It's up to you if you want to do it or not this stream. If not, we could do it next time. It's up to you.
It's a story breakdown exercise? Oh, from last time where you gave me those shorts?
Yeah.
Is it same kind of thing where it's a couple of shorts?
Yep.
Yeah, you can throw it in the chat.
Sure. Because again, this time I only chose 2.
Okay.
I just don't.
Yeah,
I'm trying to be very considerate of everyone's time. That's all.
No worries. Yeah, throw it in the chat.
Okay. I appreciate this, by the way, again. All right, there it is.
Perfect. Let me grab this. Okay. Let's see what we got. Noah's asking me, hey, at Tyler Mowry, what about you? What is your belief? What is your philosophical conflict? Do you have a screenplay? What is it about if you had one? I would be very interested. My philosophical conflict is about the internet versus Hollywood. and I will let you all. I'm not going to tell you about my script yet, but I will let you all ponder that and ponder the conflict of the YouTube screenwriter guy. All right. The Village of Shadows. Okay, we got 2 here. Let me read these out. I'm going to take a swig of my water before. All right. The Village of Shadows. Long ago, a young girl went with her mother to pick berries for her father, who was hard at work. But the forest greeted them with a dark, cold silence, the bushes empty. Yet, determined to find the berries, the rascal broke free from Mother's grasp and vanished into the trees. Mother's worried cries faded fast as the girl ran on, over vine and under branch and into the forest deep. Feeling strange eyes upon her, the girl recalled Mother's scary bedtime tales, and her throat became bone dry. Then the Bat Lord appeared. He greeted her warmly and bit his own wing. "Come, child, quench your thirst," he said. So she drank the thick, dark blood and smiled with joy. Passing through a graveyard, menacing storm clouds loomed, and the air turned bitingly cold. The girl was shivering in her thin clothes, when a dark weaver appeared, and with a click of his fingers crafted mist into a beautiful dress. "Come, child, warm yourself," he coaxed. So she clothed herself and smiled with joy. Across waters deep and ominous she went, hoping a boat she found would carry her home. But hunger's grip tightened and her heart grew heavy. Then the Fish King appeared and offered one of his many fins. "Come, child, eat your fill." So the girl ate and smiled with joy once more. Continuing on, she soon entered the forest's dark heart. Then an iron steed appeared, bearing a beautiful golden gear. The creature said nothing as the girl approached and snatched what she thought was another gift. The horse grew angry and summoned the other monsters. Terror filled the girl's heart as a wild wind rose about the beasts. Suddenly a witch appeared, dark yet regal. "Gifts we gave, but more you took," she snarled, "so more in turn is due." In a blink, the girl was trapped inside a mirror. Her parents, though, had searched all day and at last arrived. With rampant rage, father fought the witch, while mother's loving touch shattered the dark enchantment. But the witch was strong, and father yelled, "Save our daughter!" So mother bore their child to safety as the forest was consumed. Even now, the burnt forest is a grim reminder of father's sacrifice. To this day, any child who stares too long into the charred wasteland will be haunted by nightmares of getting lost while picking berries. Okay. Yeah, this is
All right.
this is fun. There's definitely a story circle in here. We've got a young girl. This is our one. This is our character. And then let's see. She wants berries, so determined to find the berries. This is the 2. Young girl 1, determined to find the berries is the 2. Mother's rascal broke free, vanishes into the trees. Boom. And then this is the 3. So we have a lot of 3s. So the Bat Lord is a 3. Bat Lord appeared. This is a 3. Greeted her warmly, "Come, child, quench your thirst." So she drank the thick, dark blood. This is a 4. 4 here. This is a choice. 3 problem, 4 choice. And I can, just so that people don't forget, we got character is 1, 2 is want, 3 is inciting incident, 4 is initial choice, 5 is want achieved, 6 is surprise problem, 7 is climactic choice, and the 8 is the change. So we've got this. We got like multiple 3s and 4s here, which is fine. It works. So we've got this, and then we've got Dark Weaver. Dark Weaver, this is another 3. Come, child, warm yourself. So she clothes herself. This is another 4. Then Across Waters Deep, Fish King appeared. This is another 3. So the girl 8. This is a 4. Iron Steed appeared. This is another 3. Creature said nothing. Horse grew angry. Terrified girls. Wait. Horse grew angry. Wait. Creature said nothing. Girl approached. Snatched what she thought was another gift. Okay, so this is another 4 here. This is another 4. Horse grew angry. Some of the other monsters. Terror filled the girl's heart as a wild wind rose around the beast. Suddenly a witch appeared. So this is the 6 now. It's interesting. The witch is the 6. So, and I would say the 5, the want achieved, is all of the gifts that she's getting. So there's like little 5s in here. So she clothes herself. There's a 5 in here because she got the clothes. She makes the choice to get the clothes and she gets them. She makes the choice to eat and she eats. She gets what she thought was another gift. And now we have our surprise problem, right? The horse grew angry. Notice also that the Iron Steed's gift is different from the other ones. This causes anger because it wasn't really a gift. Terror fills the girl's heart, and the witch appears. Gifts we gave, but more you took, right? So notice how this beat here, gifts we gave, but more you took. This is what makes this piece different from the other problems and choices, right? Because at first it was problem, choice, continuing. Problem, choice, continuing. Now there is a larger pushback against all of these other choices that were made. And so gifts we gave, but more you took, this is the surprise problem. So more in turn is due. This is the 6. This is the surprise problem. And in a blink, the girl is trapped in a mirror. Now, she does not make the 7, which is interesting. Her parents do. She does not make the 7. The 7 is the climactic choice. The parents make the climactic choice. Her parents, though, had searched all day and last arrived. With rampant rage, father fought the witch, while mother's loving touch shattered the dark enchantment. This is the 7. This is the climactic choice. But the witch was strong, and father yelled, "Save our daughter," so mother bore their child to safety as the forest was consumed. So father sacrifices himself, saves the daughter. The forest is consumed. See how this is the climax, right? Like, all this stuff is coming to a head together, right? All these different pieces, the Bat Lord, the Dark Weaver, the Fish King, all these come together in this huge 6. Gifts we gave, more you took. Now we have this climax where the forest is on fire. And now this piece here, this is all the 8, right? Because notice, this is what they're saying. This is the change, right? This is how the world is now changed. Even now, the burnt forest is a grim reminder of father's sacrifice. To this day, any child who stares too long into the charred wasteland will be haunted by nightmares of getting lost while picking berries. This is how the world is changed, right? That's the idea. How is the world changed after we went through these beats? So really, your 1 is super simple. It's just a character and what they want, right? And that's what we get here. We get our character, what they want, just some simple berries. Notice that we start all the way super small with simple berries, and we end with the father dead and the forest burnt to the ground, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, this is great. That's it definitely follows a story circle function, and it's also interesting. Here's something else I want you guys to notice. The 3 and the 4 mirror the 6 and the 7, right? In the sense that this is a problem, and this is a choice. Then this is a problem, and this is a choice. However, the difference is that the 6 and the 7 are climactic, which means that there's only can be one of them, and they have to happen at the same time. This is why all this happens together in one single movement of drama, whereas we have multiple 3s and 4s up here that can happen without an immediate response. But the second the 6 begins, when the witch comes, now we are in the climactic movement, right? The second that the witch comes forward and we start this, we are in the climax, and we are not going to leave that climax until the story is resolved.
Very excellent breakdown, man. This is very, very informative. Really appreciate this.
Perfect.
What would you say is the moral of the story and the potential philosophical conflict?
Um, I mean,
If there is one.
yeah, it's not. It kind of seems. To me, it seems like it's a tale of, like why kids need to not be. It's kind of like a mother's tale, right? This is what happens when
Cautionary
you.
tale?
Yes, it's a cautionary tale. Right? This is what happens when you don't listen to your mom. This is kind of what this is about. You know, if you don't listen to me, witches are gonna come and burn the forest down, and your dad will die.
uh, okay, okay. What would you say would be the philosophical conflict of that story?
Well, I mean, I think it's just, youthful curiosity versus the reality of the real world, right?
Gotcha. Okay, and second story.
Is this from a is
Obviously,
this
I
from a
made sure
game
it's
as well? The Village of Shadows.
yes, it is.
What
Yes, it
game?
is. Um, Resident Evil 8. No, I think 8.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, I think number 8.
Gotcha.
This story serves like as a you could say like the very like opening. It's at the beginning of the story of the game.
Okay. Gotcha. Hmm.
hmm And the second story is also from a game. It's like the previous one. It serves as exposition.
Okay.
But for this story, after you read it, I would like for you to know. I would like for you to like add what can how this exposition could be a story.
Okay. How do I say this? Uchitsune? Uchitsune? Uchitsun?
Uchisune.
Uchitsune. Okay. The
Mhm.
Curse of Uchitsune. Long ago, an emperor and his palace were plagued by a winged demon. The emperor sent for Uchitsune, the most renowned archer of his time, who wielded a bow blessed by a kami. When the demon next came, Uchitsune was ready. Longbow in hand, his aim was truer and his arrows flew farther than any archers in Japan. Uchitsune loosed a single arrow. It pierced the demon's heart. As it fell to the ground, it cursed Uchitsune with its final breath. Soon after, Uchitsune saw the forms of the demon everywhere. His legendary bow never missed, but each arrow that hit its mark was met with a very human scream. The trail of bodies led to his capture. Though many called for Uchitsune's death, the emperor felt pity for him. Uchitsune was banished to Tsushima Island. He died years later, alone and forgotten by all but a few. The demon-slaying longbow has remained hidden here since his passing. Some say it awaits a worthy master. Others believe it still holds the demon's curse. Okay. So, let's see. So, we've got Emperor was plagued by the winged demon. The emperor sent for Uchitsune. When the demon came, he was ready. Longbow in hand, his aim was true. He loosed a single arrow, and it pierced the demon's heart. As it fell to the ground, it cursed Uchitsune. He saw the demons lying everywhere. Okay, so I think the circle would be... Yeah, so this is kind of... This one's a little more complex, a little less clear. So we've got the emperor. Now we could set this from the perspective of the emperor and say, okay, well, he wants to kill the winged demon, right? So how does he do that? So palace plagued by winged demon, the 2 and 3. So it's like 1, 2, 3 is all kind of in this first sentence, right? So the 1, the emperor, 2, 3, he's plagued by a winged demon, so he wants to kill that demon, right? So it's like, this is also something that can also happen where sometimes your character has a desire, has a want at first, right? Like in this case, in this story, she wants to get the berries first and then encounters problems. The opposite can also happen, where the emperor is plagued by a winged demon, so now we essentially have the decision based on that, which is here, the 4, The emperor sent for Uchitsune, who wielded a bow blessed by. So then when the demon next came, Uchitsune was ready. He loosed a single arrow, it pierced the demon's heart. This would be our 5. And then as it fell to the ground, it cursed Uchitsune. Okay, yeah. So this does work. If you place this from the perspective of the emperor, this is a complete story circle. At first I was like trying to make it from Uchitsune's perspective, and that made it strange, but it works if it's the emperor. So, emperor, plagued by a demon, the emperor sent for Uchitsune. He loosed a single arrow, pierces the demon's heart. As it fell to the ground, it cursed Uchitsune with its final breath. This is the 6. All these beats are the 6. Fell to the ground, cursed Uchitsune. Trail of bodies led to his capture. And then the emperor felt pity for him, and Uchitsune was banished by the emperor. So the 7, the climactic choice, is made by the emperor here, where rather than killing Uchitsune, he banishes him, and then this is the 8, right? Again, how has the world changed? Uchitsune died years later, forgotten by all but a few, and his longbow has remained here in our quest since his passing. Some say it awaits a worthy master. Others believe it still holds the demon's curse. So, yes, if you set it from the perspective of the emperor, you have a full circle here. Now, what is this, like, philosophically, conflict-wise? It mainly feels like just a very basic good versus evil. Emperor is plagued by a demon, right? So the emperor, good guy, demon, bad guy, sends for Uchitsune, and then he does good for the emperor and gets punished for it. And so, because he's the one that gets cursed. And so because of that, the emperor feels pity for him and does good to him, and then only banishes him rather than killing him.
And how would you make this story, if you was writing this story, how would you make this story more captivating?
Well, I guess
it would be like in the dialogue.
Well, I guess it depends on the medium of it, right? Like, because to me, this is the medium of the story that we've just read is, from my understanding, like video game dialogue or like video game exposition, where we encounter his cursed bow, and now we're getting some info about what this bow is. Correct?
That's exactly what this is.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of it, like, story can be defined by its medium. In other words, story is defined by whether it is a book or a novel or a screenplay or a short story or video game exposition. So if this was going to be video game exposition, which it is, I wouldn't change anything. I think it works. It's short and sweet. We get a full story circle and we get a sense of what happens. If you wanted to make this its own TV episode or its own movie or that sort of thing, well, then now we would have a lot more work to do, in the sense that we would take these beats and then blast them out to create a larger story, add in more characters, and it would actually be a full narrative drama.
Okay, and how about just for like a short story, like Death?
If I was going to make it with a short story, the medium is probably the loosest out of anything. But what I would do is, the biggest thing I would do would be add more characters, right? So here, essentially, here we say, like, let's see what our scenes are, right? If we were going to blast this out and understand scenes, this is scene 1, right? Long ago, an emperor and his palace were plagued by a winged demon. But we would have 2 scenes here. So maybe we would have scene 1, plagued by demon, and then scene 2 would be debate on how to solve demon problem, right? So then we would have the emperor and his council, let's say, right? His advisors would be there, and we would have more characters discussing how to actually solve the demon problem. So we would have more characters. Then we would probably, so then he sends for Uchitsune. So then we might have a scene where we meet Uchitsune in his normal situation and understand, okay, what's he up to? Who are the characters around him, right? Does he have a wife? Does he have children? Does he have a family? Does he have parents? Like, who's around him? And then we would probably have like a scene where Uchitsune accepts the Emperor's request, right, to go kill this demon. And then now we would have when the demon next came, and so this would be a scene like 5, like fighting the demon. This would also be part of that scene. And then now we would have like scene 6, which would be he sees the forms of the demon everywhere, right? He's now been cursed by fighting this demon. And then this could be multiple scenes, or like it could be 5 scenes, it could be 3, and then ultimately Trail of Bodies led to his capture, right? So then we would have scene 7, maybe like capturing of Uchitsune, and then many calls for his death, so that feels like a courtroom scene, or like the judgment scene. So that would be a different scene. Uchitsune is judged, and then he's banished, and then so then I would have like a Uchitsune on the island, and if I was going to tie it back to the game, we would see him place the bow in its final resting place, right? To then tie it back into our sort of video game character would be picking it back up and going forward later on in the story. So if I was going to make it a short story, I would do something like that.
Wow. Very impressive. Very impressive, Tyler. Again, like this kind of stuff, like it helps me and hopefully others watching how to, again, break down stories and better examine them, and how to help them better write their own short stories as well.
Excellent.
It also helps people to see the practical process, like in other people's work as well.
Absolutely. I'm glad it's been helpful to you. Thanks for
And
bringing these forward.
and lastly, you said the philosophical conflict of that story would be, good versus evil. What would you think would be the moral of that story?
It's something like good versus evil, but I think specifically with the Emperor, setting up the story from the Emperor's perspective, I think it has to be about. There would be an element in here that could be further developed of Uchitsune having to be the one to bear the burdens of the problem that the Emperor had, right? Mm-hmm. So Uchitsune is the one who gets cursed. He's the one who beats the demon but then gets cursed for it, and he's the one who has to go be banished. They're trying to put him to death. Now, I think the one thing that I would want more detail on, if a writer had brought this to me or if I was going to be writing it, would be this piece where they're talking about his legendary bow never missed, but each arrow that hit its mark was met with a very human scream. I don't know if they're saying that every time he shot his bow, someone died, or if they're saying every time he shot his bow, we just hear a scream. Because then they say the trail of bodies led to his capture, which makes me say that maybe people were dying every time he was loosing his bow. And if that's the case, or is like either that was happening or he was killing them, I'm not sure. Like that, this is probably the most unclear piece. And it's also pretty important because the Emperor felt pity for him, and the Emperor, I think, feels pity for him because he has to bear the curse of the Emperor's problem. And so I think this would be where I would get out some more detail, and I think more of the
I could do that for you.
Sure. I mean, well, I think if you wanted to, you could. But the
Sorry.
the
Go ahead.
philosophical conflict is going to be most exemplified in our 6, right? So if we go back to the short story that we looked at earlier, the short film, The Life of Death, notice that this surprise problem here where the deer gets older and her time comes, this is... Oh, okay. Oh, Joseph is saying he saw demons everywhere but was killing humans. Oh, okay. I see. That makes it clearer. Okay.
Yeah.
So he saw...
So basically, the demon curse Uchisune, basically now every person he saw, instead of seeing humans, he would see the demon. And he would kill people thinking they're the demon. That was the curse.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So then, okay. That makes sense. Then the emperor feels pity for him because it was the emperor's problem, and that's the reason he was cursed. And then he's banished to the island. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And so then this is pressuring the emperor, right? Because again, this is the emperor's story. The emperor is our main character. And so he is pressured by the fact that the man that he has called forward to kill the demon is now going to kill other people, and now everybody wants him to die. And so now this is why the 6 and the 7, you're going to really feel that philosophical conflict very clearly, because this is where the most important philosophical choice has to be made, right, in that 7. So in this case, the emperor has this huge choice to make and ends up banishing him to the island. So, yeah.
Wow, man. Again, Tyler, I appreciate you for giving me the time to do this and break all this down. I truly appreciate it, man.
Totally.
I really do.
Thanks for hopping on the stream.
You're welcome, man. You have a good day.
You too. All right. We're going to do one final person here. I see Stead's got his hand raised. I hope you guys on YouTube are enjoying this live stream. If you're interested in joining the Discord and asking me questions directly, there should be a link right below this live stream in the description. And you can hop in there and join the calls. Stead, how are you?
I'm doing all right. About you?
Doing well. What's your question today?
I'm the same way as Stevenson. I'm not trying to waste nobody's time. So but I think I remember you saying the other day you would take scripts. I don't have the full thing. I just have 5 or 6 pages if you want to. Okay. But if you don't, I'm fine. I'm fine with I don't gotta do this if you don't want to.
Yeah. Post it in the live stream chat.
All right.
Is it a PDF?
Right.
Okay.
It's for about my first pilot I've written.
Okay.
Let
me get.
Okay.
I'm gonna get a Word document set up for this while you send it to me.
I didn't write it on Word. I know I shouldn't probably be doing this, but I wrote it on Google Docs.
That's fine. Just whatever you have.
Alrighty. Also, I probably want to go ahead and say this. You might not want to display it. I did censor it out, but it's got some strong language in it.
Okay.
So if you do not want to display that, that's also fine.
If it's just language, that's fine. If it's super sexual content or something like that, we won't do it. But if it's just language, it should be okay.
Yeah, nothing like that. I don't have that in there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, if you can post the link to the document in the live stream stage chat, that would be best.
The link?
Yes.
Okay, because I posted the PDF, but
okay.
Here, I'll do that too. Here, let's see. Okay, is that better?
Yes, let me grab it. And then can you give me access to it? So top right hand corner, you should see a share button. If you open that up, it'll say general access, anyone with the link. And if you can make it at least viewer, but if you want me to leave comments or edits, I would love to be able to edit or comment on it. I can open that up.
Okay, done.
Perfect.
And also, anytime you get bored, like this is also another thing. Anytime you get bored, you can quit right then and there. You know what I'm saying?
Is this for a pilot, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So you have not written out the whole thing quite yet, correct?
Not yet.
Okay. Well,
Just wanted to see what you think.
It might be, if you don't have the full story, it might be better to just discuss the larger story beats, because
Okay.
it would be better for me to give you more of a sense of the larger story beats, because really, like, the first 7 pages of your pilot are not going to be the fundamental story. What's going to be that fundamental story is the flow that you are trying to build to dramatize this pilot here. So, do you have an outline, or do you have a sense of some of the main story beats?
I do. I can link that as well.
Yeah, link that as well.
Okay.
That would be better for us.
Okay. And I'm gonna put editor. I just wanted to, see how my because I thought I followed the story circle pretty well. I just wanted to see if my dialogue and all that type of thing was looking good. But there we go.
Let me check your story circle, and if you're good to go there, then we can take a look at some dialogue for sure.
Okay.
All right.
And also, this might be, I hadn't looked at the outline in a while.
Okay.
I just kind of did a rough outline and then started, so I'm not sure. But anyway, we'll just see.
Yeah, let's just hop in. All right, join the party. Stead and his brother are told that they need to come outside with their father this weekend because something needs to be done. They moan after they are sure they can't be heard. Main plot. Stead hears about a party that will take place on the weekend but isn't invited. Upset that he wasn't asked, he tries to persuade
Okay.
the host to, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying this is hard to read.
That's okay.
Again, I pretty much wrote this just for myself.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. This is story development. This is not for the audience. This is a writer's room here. So let's see here. Upset that he wasn't invited, so he tries to persuade the host to invite him through text. Okay. Observes the behavior of those invited and imitates them. He may try. That's good. So this is probably our four. Stead wants to go to a party. At lunch, they show each other screenshots of Stead asking. His dad reminds him that he already put his work off, so he needs to finish out work today. He's not allowed to go. Okay. To relieve his stress, he gets on PlayStation and talks to his friend. He lies by telling him that he was properly invited by the host. His friend tells him he should just say F it and go to the party instead against his dad's, but Stead says his dad would kill him. Expresses dissatisfaction with having to go do yard work there shortly, and his friend is pissed as well because they only have each other. Show that his friend notices that there are more people. Some way he acts in order to be included. He must decide whether to be a part of the white group or act like blacks, which he observes to be admired by the white girls. Stead's father doesn't want his son to follow the same path he did, which is why he isn't allowed to go to the party at first. Dad will do some investigating to make sure he trusts the people hosting it. Stead won't understand this since he thinks his father turned out okay. Okay. Okay, let's get
So basically, his father is very racist.
Okay.
This is not very racist. Okay, so this is about me when I was younger. I grew up I'm in the South.
Mm-hmm.
All of my friends were black, and I was using the N-word left and right, trying to fit in and be like them.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, and I regret it now. I feel bad for the language I would use around them. I know how bad it would, but at the time I didn't realize that. And this isn't purely about that, but it's about me trying to be a certain way, and the effect it had on other people.
For sure.
I was just kind of a jerk. So yeah, if
Okay.
that's
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a great space to begin building this story based on experiences that you have had and lessons that you have learned. I think that's excellent. So let's come down and actually get a sense of this circle here. So we got our characters. Stead wants to go to the party, correct?
right.
And then our problem is essentially that he's not invited, right? Not invited.
Right.
So then he asks around, and he does get the invitation, right?
He, not through the host. He
Right.
persuades and guilt trips his friend into, yeah.
So he guilt trips his friend to getting him an invite. So now, I think from there we should go to the party. Like, you can have more setup here in the sense of, like, with Dad saying he's already putting his work off, he needs to finish the yard work, that kind of thing. That definitely is going to play into this earlier piece. But I think we need to get to the party, correct?
What I did was, and we could, I could definitely, you know a lot more than me, but what I did was, so I like to play the game, like a PlayStation, and join. Are you familiar with like joining the party?
Yeah.
On a PlayStation?
Yeah.
So I'll put it as where I didn't get to go to the party, but they invited me to talk to them on not the host of the party, but a different group. So he didn't get into where he wanted to go, but at least he gets this small win.
Okay. So it goes to the party over, like, PlayStation Network.
A different, maybe the word party I'm using, the voice chat, kind of like Discord. Basically, we can just say join someone else's Discord. We can just use that.
Okay. So when you're saying party, are you meaning are you talking about actual? Is there an actual party in the story happening with our, like, PlayStation voice chat party, or no?
There's a real party IRL, and then
Okay.
there's a voice chat that he does end up getting into that's separate and not related to it. That is confusing.
Yeah.
This is based on like real stuff. That's why I use those terms.
For sure. So to me, if the whole initial piece of the story is about him trying to go to this party, but then he's not invited, and then he guilt trips his friend into getting him an invite, this invite is for the real party, correct?
Right.
Okay. So to me, I think it's going to be more. So you can tell me what actually happened, but I also think that if this is the case, my initial gut reaction is he actually goes to the party, and then we have, like, the 6 being like a dad problem, plus maybe the partiers maybe don't want him there, or realize he wasn't invited, something like that.
Well, he guilt trips him over text message to send it, and the guy does end up sending it, but people end up knowing, like the guy who ended up sending it, or instead boasts about it to his friends in the PlayStation party, and when they figure out that he is trying to go to something he wasn't invited to, they tell everyone, and now this is kind of backfiring on him. That's what I had in mind.
Okay, and so the problem is that, his friend blabs, and then everyone knows he was trying to get into a party he wasn't invited to.
Right.
Okay, that's good. So then, how are you seeing it resolve?
Let me scroll up. For this episode. I don't know. I had something, but now my mind has gone blank. He doesn't go to it, but I don't remember.
So it
I
might
don't know why.
doesn't go to it. Maybe does yard work with his dad, something like that.
Right, and he kind of by the end, I do remember like how he was thinking by the end. By then, he was, he's not gonna start. He's gonna stop being such a jerk, but it's not. He's of course gonna. It's gonna get worse again, but it does get better at the end. He's kind of seeing the light, then he'll go back.
How is he?
Kind of
being
like
a
in
jerk
Breaking
the end?
Bad, like trying to get his friend to. And if you read the script, you'll see like the real thing. You'll see what I'm saying, the way he talks to people.
Oh, okay.
But like in Breaking Bad, at the end of the episode, Walter's kind of almost like he put it behind him, but he's still going to get back into it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
I see. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so then essentially what's happening at the end is that he's having to do the responsible thing and realizes so he's being a jerk about how he's trying to get into it, and he's saying like this like retarded devotion, like he's saying he doesn't want to do what he's being told, more or less.
That part was I want to show how his dad is, the way his parenting style influences the way his son acts towards other people. That's why I put that there. So yeah, I don't that part, him not wanting to do the devotion, that wasn't intended to show how he's like a rebel or anything. It was just to show that he's not, his dad is not the best.
Okay.
He's kind of influencing him. I don't know how to word this, but I should have probably come a little more prepared.
You're all right.
But
what would you say the real two sides of conflict here are? Like, why is it important to Stead that he go to this party, and then when he doesn't go, and you're kind of saying that he is realizing that he's being a jerk? What is that? Is it? What really are you seeing as the change here? Is it him trying to be cool and then realizing he doesn't need to be, or is it him realizing he needs to change the way that he interacts with people? Like, talk to me about what you are trying to say with this story.
So, whenever you do philosophical conflict, how you'll do like this versus that, always thought of this as his identity versus his image, his public image. So who he is versus how he tries to show everyone else that he is. You know what I'm saying? How he presents himself.
Kind of who he really is versus how he tries to look.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So then I think you have something that's working here, in the sense of he's living within that, element of how he's trying to look. He's trying to be cool, and then being cool backfires on, or trying to be cool, trying to look cool backfires on him at the 6. And then he's going back to, in the 7, doing something that is part of his identity, part of who he really is, which is like potentially doing the yard work with his dad, being involved with his family, something like that.
See that even that wasn't my. Again, I don't remember exactly what I had at 7, but that wasn't.
Okay.
The reason that was there. Let me go up and scroll. The reason that was there was not. I really don't know how to. I'm not trying to show that he should go be with his family or anything. It's just his. I don't know. He's gonna be caught up in the middle, in between what his dad thinks and what all his friends think how he should be. He will end up somewhere in the middle of that. right now.
What does his dad think of like how he should be?
So if you'll go to page 6, the very first thing said on page 6 of the thing I sent
The
kind of sums up how his dad thinks.
Okay.
This Stead guy, he is eventually going to get into like some bad stuff, like trying to, stealing and that sort of thing. Uh, and obviously, I'm not condoning that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is, do you see where he's like,
Mm-hmm.
he's super religious? Yeah, right here, he's like super religious and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay, and so
but
yeah,
he,
you kind of have this conflict between the family life being different from Stead's public life.
uh,
You know, I would be interested to get a sense of what you think as your climax. And if that takes you, maybe next stream you can bring it forward. But I would be very interested to know how you feel like the climax is going to happen here. Because if you can give me a sense of what it's looking like from your perspective, that will better help me get a sense of where you want this to end up and how we can make sure that this philosophical conflict that you're building in is actually working.
yeah, how about I do that? How about I'll get off, quit wasting everyone's time, and I wasn't as prepared as I thought I was.
You're all right.
I found out, so I'll do that, right, and I'll come back, whenever you next stream, and
Yeah.
I promise I'll have it pretty clear for you.
No worries. I'm glad you brought something forward. And the biggest thing to me is that you have something written, right? Like a lot of people want to ask me questions, and then they ask me more questions, then they ask me more questions, and I notice they never ever come with anything written. But you came with pages. So I appreciate that you actually came with pages, and I look forward to seeing what you bring forward next.
Alrighty, thank you.
For sure. All right. Good stuff today, everybody. I think I'm going to go ahead and wind it down there. Jason, I saw you hopped in late. Good to see you, bro. I very much hope you guys enjoyed this stream. I hope you learned something. I hope it was helpful to you. If you guys want to see that breakdown of the life of death, that short film that we looked at on stream today, you can find my breakdown of that in the Discord under the announcements tab. That is where I post the emails that I also send out. I hope you learned something today. I hope this has been helpful to you, and I will see you guys next time.